Long before modern survival gear, GPS navigation, and emergency rescue teams, mountain men disappeared into the wilderness of the Rocky Mountains for months at a time. During the peak of the Rocky Mountain fur trade between 1825 and 1840, they traveled through some of the most remote regions in North America, where a broken rifle, an infected wound, a failed hunt, or an early snowstorm could leave a man hungry, stranded, or dead hundreds of miles from help. Yet thousands entered that world anyway. They survived by relying on practical skills that allowed them to find food, secure water, endure brutal winters, and live off the land long after their supplies were gone. Many of these methods were considered ordinary frontier knowledge at the time. Today, some would be heavily restricted, while others would be nearly impossible to practice on public land. Here are 10 illegal off-grid living tricks mountain men used that still work today. Number 1. Drowning set beaver. Trapping for mountain men, beavers were not simply animals. They were money. A productive beaver stream could determine whether a trapper finished the season with valuable trade goods or returned home nearly empty-handed. Because of that, mountain men developed highly effective trapping methods that modern people often find disturbing. One common technique involved placing traps along underwater travel routes and anchoring captured beavers beneath the surface. Once caught, the animal could not escape and eventually drowned. The method required little supervision and allowed trappers to check multiple locations spread across miles of streams and rivers. Imagine walking through a narrow mountain valley at dawn, following a cold stream winding through dense willows. Beneath the water, hidden from sight, dozens of carefully placed traps might already be working while the trapper moved on to other tasks. Modern wildlife regulations heavily restrict or prohibit many trapping methods of this kind. But for mountain men, efficiency mattered. Every pelt represented food, supplies, ammunition, and another chance to survive the next season. The fur trade built fortunes on practices that would shock many people today. Number 2. Unattended snares that worked while you slept. Hunting consumed valuable time and energy. A mountain man who spent every day chasing game risked exhausting himself long before winter arrived. Instead, many relied on simple automatic traps that continued working even when they were elsewhere. Game trails often revealed themselves through repeated use. Deer, rabbits, and other animals frequently followed the same routes through forests and valleys. Experienced mountain men learned to read those signs with remarkable accuracy. Using cordage, flexible saplings, and carefully placed nooses, they created snares that could capture animals without constant supervision. While a trapper checked beaver lines, repaired equipment, or traveled to another camp, the snare continued doing its job. Today, many jurisdictions restrict or ban these traps because they can capture unintended animals and raise concerns about animal welfare. During the fur trade era, however, every successful snare conserved energy. In a wilderness where calories could mean survival, a trap that worked while you slept was an enormous advantage. Number 3. Burning the landscape to influence game movement. Most people think of wildfires as disasters. Mountain men sometimes viewed fire very differently. Across portions of the frontier, controlled burns could reshape entire sections of prairie. Old vegetation disappeared, fresh grass emerged, and grazing animals often followed the new growth. A hunter standing on a distant ridge could observe changes across miles of open country. Herds tended to follow food, and food often followed fire. The sight would have been extraordinary. Smoke drifting across the horizon, blackened ground stretching toward distant hills, and within weeks, fresh green growth attracting wildlife back into the area. Today, unauthorized burning can lead to severe penalties because the risks are obvious. Fires can spread beyond control and cause enormous damage. Yet on the frontier, fire was often treated as another survival tool. Used carefully, it could influence the landscape in ways that benefited hunters for months afterward. The wilderness was not always something mountain men simply endured. Sometimes they actively shaped it. Number 4. Creating private water systems. Water was life, but carrying it every day was exhausting. A camp located near a spring was valuable, yet even short trips for water consumed time and effort. Mountain men often looked for ways to bring water closer to where they lived and worked. Some diverted small flows from springs. Others dug simple channels that directed water toward campsites. In certain areas, natural terrain made it surprisingly easy to guide water exactly where it was needed. Picture a small camp hidden among cottonwoods beside a mountain stream. Instead of making dozens of trips carrying heavy containers, a trapper could spend a few hours modifying the landscape and enjoy easier access to water for weeks. Modern water rights laws regulate many activities involving streams and springs. During the mountain man era, however, survival often took priority over legal considerations. If water could be made more accessible, many saw little reason not to do it. Number 5. Harvesting rainwater. Wherever possible, mountain men understood something many modern people forget. A reliable water source can disappear. For that reason, many mountain men collected rainwater whenever they had the opportunity. Cabin roofs, hollowed logs, barrels, and natural rock formations could all help capture water that might otherwise be lost. During dry periods, those reserves provided valuable insurance against uncertainty. What makes this particularly interesting is how modern it sounds. Off-grid communities still discuss water independence today, yet mountain men were solving the same problem nearly 2 centuries ago, with little more than practical observation and necessity. Number 6. Preserving meat without refrigeration. A successful hunt created a problem. An elk, deer, or buffalo could provide an enormous amount of meat, far more than one person could eat before it spoiled. Mountain men solved this problem with smoke. Using hardwood fires and simple smokehouses, they transformed fresh meat into food that could last for months. Thick smoke slowly removed moisture while helping preserve the meat against decay. The process required patience. Strips of meat hung overhead while smoke drifted through the structure day after day. The scent lingered on clothing, equipment, and sometimes entire camps. What makes this one especially fascinating is how practical it remains. Long before refrigeration, mountain men developed a reliable system for storing food during periods when fresh game might be difficult to find. A successful smokehouse turned a temporary food source into long-term security. Number 7. Turning animal hides into clothing. Buying a replacement jacket was not an option on the frontier. If clothing wore out, mountain men often had to make new clothing themselves. That meant learning how to transform raw hides into durable buckskin. The process was demanding, messy, and time-consuming. Hides had to be scraped, stretched, softened, and smoked before becoming useful. One of the most surprising parts of the process involved animal brains. Because brains contain natural oils, they helped soften leather and improve flexibility. Urine was also sometimes used during various stages of hide preparation. To modern readers, the process sounds unpleasant, and to mountain men, it was simply another skill. Without buckskin clothing, many would have struggled to survive harsh weather and difficult travel conditions. The jacket on a trapper's back often represented days of labor long before the first stitch was ever made. Number 8. Using animal fat as protection against the cold Rocky Mountain winters were unforgiving. Temperatures plunged below freezing, snow buried trails, wind pushed through clothing and exposed skin with remarkable efficiency. To gain additional protection, some mountain men relied on animal fats such as bear grease and tallow. Before crossing a frozen pass or spending days in severe weather, grease could be applied to boots, leather gear, and sometimes exposed skin. The smell was far from pleasant, but survival rarely concerned itself with comfort. This is one of those practices that sounds strange at first. Then you remember that many mountain men faced winter conditions with equipment that would seem painfully inadequate by modern standards. Viewed through that lens, Rubbing animal fat on yourself starts to make a lot more sense. Number 9. Making fire with flint, steel, and charcloth. Few things mattered more than fire. Fire provided warmth, cooked food, dried clothing, and offered protection from the elements. Losing the ability to create it could quickly become dangerous. Mountain men relied heavily on flint, steel, and charcloth. A carefully struck spark landed on prepared cloth, creating a glowing ember that could be transferred into tinder and slowly built into a flame. The process demanded skill, especially after rain or snow. Wet conditions transformed a simple task into a genuine challenge. Imagine kneeling beside a shelter as freezing wind blows through the trees. Your hands are cold, your clothing is damp, and daylight is fading. In that moment, a single spark becomes one of the most valuable things in the world. Modern campers often carry multiple backup fire starters. Mountain men relied on knowledge. Number 10. Treating the wilderness like a grocery store. Perhaps the greatest survival advantage mountain men possessed was their knowledge of wild plants, often learned from native peoples, other trappers, and long experience. The wilderness provided far more than scenery. It supplied food, medicine, fibers, dyes, and countless other resources. Experienced mountain men knew where edible roots could be found. They recognized medicinal plants that helped treat common ailments. They understood which species could provide useful materials and which should be avoided. To an inexperienced traveler, the landscape might appear empty. To a skilled mountain man, it was overflowing with opportunity. Perhaps the most surprising part is that none of these skills were considered extraordinary at the time. They were simply practical knowledge shared among people who spent their lives far from settlements and supply stores. That may be the biggest difference between the modern world and the mountain man era. Most people today see wilderness as a place to visit. Mountain men saw it as a place to live. Their methods were not always pleasant. They were not always efficient by modern standards. Some would be heavily regulated today, while others would attract immediate attention from wildlife or land management authorities. Many of these skills existed for the same reason. In the right place and in skilled hands, they worked. The frontier demanded self-reliance on a level that is difficult to imagine today. Survival depended on understanding water, food, fire, weather, animals, and the landscape itself. Mountain men learned those lessons because they had no choice. History often remembers them as colorful characters from a vanished era. In reality, they were experts at solving problems with whatever resources happened to be available. The wilderness has changed very little since then. Human dependence on systems and convenience is what changed. And perhaps that is why these old survival tricks remain so fascinating. They remind us that long before modern technology, people found ways to thrive in places where nature still made the rules.